For the first time in history, the top 6 teams in the men's AP poll lost on the same day in upset fashion, with March literally right around the corner. Matt, you want to play a game with me?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down for this previously ranked top 6 team, whether you think they're a contender or a pretender in the NCAA tournament.
All right.
We'll start with the number 1 team in the country, Gonzaga. What do you think about the Bulldogs?
You know, I think they're contenders, but I kind of expect them to do the same thing that they did last year, which is make it deep but end up losing in a tough game against one of the bigger teams. Now, this St. Mary, for anybody who knows Gonzaga and knows this conference, obviously everybody's going to point out that they play in a weaker conference, but St. Mary's is consistently strong. They play really well against Gonzaga. They're ranked in the top 25 this season currently. And so I'm not worried as much about the loss in the conference as much as I'm worried that this team, which I think isn't as good as last year's Gonzaga team, just doesn't seem to have it. As much as I love Chet Holmgren, I think Drew Timme's great. I just feel like they're going to have the same issue they had last year, which is, they'll get at least to the Elite Eight, but once you get there, I think it's going to be very tough for them to move on. I expect a Final Four appearance, but I don't think anything else.
Huge fan of the Gonzaga Bulldogs. If you tuned in to last week, I believe the Gonzaga Bulldogs have everything they need to win a national championship this season. I'm not too worried about a 10-point loss on the road to St. Mary's. Again, like you mentioned, St. Mary's is a very, very respectable program. And, whatever you think about the West Coast Conference, the Gonzaga or any team, they're not going to go undefeated in conference play. You're going to run into a loss or two no matter who you're playing against. It's just the nature of the beast. So, again, I'm not too worried about the Zags. I like them to make a deep run, perhaps, again, maybe win a national championship. Let's switch gears. Previously ranked number 2, Arizona suffered a loss over the weekend. What do you think about the Wildcats?
This one worries me. I mean, this was against the Colorado team that, although, they're unranked, they're doing all right, but Arizona has really been one of the quietly good teams in the Pac-12 and in the nation this year.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were going to not be able to get the job done against Colorado concerns me a little bit, especially heading into tournament time when you're supposed to start gearing up for your tournament, your conference tournament and things of that nature. Plus, they're known for their defense, and I just feel like they didn't step up when they needed to. To lose a close game to Colorado doesn't bode well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a believer in Arizona at this point. And obviously, this is a nice surprise as well. I don't think many people expected Arizona, or at least myself. I didn't expect Arizona to be this good record-wise up to this point. But, again, a 16-point loss to Colorado, who is not great, to say the least. Colorado just lost their previous game before beating Arizona to Arizona State, who is multiple games below 500, not having a great season. So this is certainly a blemish on Arizona's resume. But again, I don't even look at the Pac-12 this season as a particularly strong conference. There's probably 3 teams atop the Pac-12 who I look at as legitimate tournament teams. Arizona's supposed to be one of them. But again, a loss here to Colorado, I'm not a fan. I'm not buying Arizona this year. But how about previously ranked number 3, Auburn? What do you think about the Tigers?
I said this on an earlier simple question. I have the SEC as the conference to beat in March Madness. I expect one of their teams to go out and get that win. Tennessee is playing absolutely unbelievable. They just beat Kentucky as well, and that was honestly my justification for why I think a team from the SEC is going to come home with the national championship, because there's a lot of teams that can be title contenders. This doesn't worry me. Auburn is still one of the better teams in the nation. I still think that they're going to make a deep run, so this doesn't concern me at all. If anything, it just makes me higher on Tennessee to make a deep run in March Madness.
Auburn got Jabari Smith. They'll be all right. Jabari Smith is a dog, a bucket. And like you mentioned, man, I'm not too worried about Auburn at this point. Losing, there's no shame in losing to a really, really strong Tennessee team and a really, really strong SEC conference this season. So I'm not too worried about them at all. How about Purdue? First Big Ten team we're chopping it up about. What do you think about the Boilermakers after their recent loss?
I really don't. I'm not big on them. I don't think that they have what it takes to make a deep run in the tournament. And I think this loss to Michigan State kind of shows that. This was a game that was basically a must-win if Purdue wanted to have at least a share of the Big Ten regular season title. This was something that they needed. Michigan State has been very up or down this year. I'm not saying that they're not a good team, but I think that if you look at like Wisconsin, they were able to go into East Lansing and win a tough game.
Yeah.
Purdue, I expect to do that if they're going to be one of the better teams in the nation this year. So I'm not very high on them. I don't think they have what it takes to make a deep run, and I think they're going to be one of those surprise early exits, something that you see a lot from the Big Ten when it comes to March Madness.
We agree again. Unfortunately, I'm not in on the Boilermakers. Obviously, they have Edie and Ivy, who are both dogs, but this is a Michigan State team that they just lost to, who was 1-5 in their previous 6 games. Michigan State is not on a roll by any means. This is a game Purdue should have been able to take, especially at this juncture of the season. And again, I look at Purdue how I look at them most years. They're a pretty solid team with pretty good players who are pretty well coached. But as far as making the Final Four or anything past that, I just will have to see it to believe it. How about Kansas after they're coming off a loss to Baylor over the weekend? What do you think about the Jayhawks?
I'm going to go thumbs down. I mean, obviously, this was a Baylor team that is top ranked, so it's going to be a tough game no matter what. But they've lost, at home court against Kentucky a while ago. They got blown out. And so if you're going to consistently lose games against other top-ranked teams, I can't trust you heading into tournament time to take care of business. And so I'm going to say they're pretenders as of right now.
I'm with the Jayhawks. Obviously, the well-coached Bill Self knows what the hell he's doing up there. And obviously, this is the team playing in the strongest, arguably the strongest conference in all of college basketball in the Big Ten. As you mentioned, there's no shame in losing to the reigning defending national champions in Baylor, although this is a lesser version of them this season. But I'm not too worried about Kansas. It always seems to me that they kind of go through a little lull kind of right before the tournament begins. And again, you're playing in the Big 12. You're going to be playing some big dogs. Some losses are going to come up. But to the last one we're going to talk about, how about Kentucky, Jan Calipari and the crew? What do you think about the Wildcats?
I'm not worried about the Wildcats. Genuinely not. Yes, they've lost to Tennessee and Arkansas as of late, but as I've already said, the SEC is a tough conference, and all of these teams look like they could make deep runs into March Madness. The other thing that makes me not worried is Shibwe had 30 points and 18 rebounds. Once again, this is a guy that can absolutely take over a game. And although it didn't go Kentucky's way this time, with him in the lineup, getting those boards, I'm very confident that Kentucky can make a deep run this year.
I think Kentucky is one of the deeper teams in the entire country.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you mentioned Shibwe. Ty Washington is a dog, is a hooper, is a true freshman. And so is Obi Toppin's little brother. I mean, this team really goes 1 through 8 guys that you can really put in the lineup and be, contributors. So I'm not too worried about Calipari's crew. As we know, he gets his team ready. And this is a Kentucky team that looks to me like it can truly, make a deep run once again. But that's going to do it for us, though. For Scott Proctor, my guy, Matt Morris right here. We'll catch you tomorrow.